What's up, guys? Welcome to the Stats Free Sports channel. Here to bring you my part one of the 2024 Cut Candidate series. Last offseason, I did three parts. Did pretty well, got some right, obviously got some wrong, and some players retired. So, we have they don't get to be scored or right or wrong. But let's get into it, guys. Before we get started, comment in this comment section down below who are some players you believe should be cut or will be cut this offseason, either from your team or any other team in the NFL? Just let me know. And also, if you hear the full video or hear most of the list, let me know if I got some right or got some wrong. But I'm gonna start with the more controversial pick first. I went through most of the rosters. I have all three of my videos already laid out, the graphics, everything. And once this video starts with the names, you're gonna see the graphics pop up and a little quick summary of why I believe the players will be cut. So I have most of them already planned out. So let's get into it, guys. First option, I have Nick Chubb. Like I said, controversial first. The easy layup one second. Last on the list. I'm doing like 6, 7 names per video. Nick Chubb first. The Browns are in the red by negative $20 million, around that range there. As we see on the graphic, Nick Chubb is owed $16 million. He's had two major knee injuries, one in college, as we all know, back in his Georgia Bulldog days, and then one just last season. And also going to the running back market. The running back market is trash, as we all know. A lot of big names in free agency this offseason. A lot of names that have been more healthier than or hasn't had any major injuries, unlike Nick Chubb has. But like I said earlier, and also as you see on the graphic, a contract restructure is possible. But to be honest, there are, on part three or part two, there are other Browns on this list. So it just depends on, and they're big name players too. So it just depends on who do you rather keep. I think out of all the options, you see Nick Chubb is the most replaceable, possibly. Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt did a pretty good job this offseason. This past season for the Cleveland Browns. And, I think with a better quarterback, they could have pushed the Houston Texans better in the wild card round. When Flacco threw those first two those back-to-back pick sixes, that kind of ended the game there. But with a better quarterback or a better decision making there, that game could have been close and probably would have been close. The Browns are playing pretty well during the start of that matchup with the Texans. So, plus with the Deshaun Watson contract and that crazy contract he has, the Browns made a dumb decision to sign him to that crazy contract. That kind of takes up most of their cap space anyway. So you're gonna have to, make some tough moves, make some tough cuts. So, like I said, albeit the Nick Chubb talk might not even happen. A restructure could be the most possible lane. I think there is a chance that he is cut this offseason in a kind of surprising move to some people. Next up, DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins is a tricky one. Now, the Titans are in a weird spot. Last year, I was one of the main ones, at least, I don't really watch nobody else's channel. So, from my end, I was one of the main ones saying they need to go in a full rebuild. I didn't understand why they even wanted to sign Hopkins. It didn't make sense to me. I knew, I'm saying that I knew they were going to be not a good team. They were okay. They were tough, hard-nosed team, coached well. But at the end of the day, they could not win it all. And there's no point. And they didn't even make the playoffs. So I'm like, it ended up coming to fruition how I thought it would happen. Ryan Tannehill would get benched. Henry played well but wasn't great. So I'm like, I don't understand why even bring in Hopkins. But now that you have Hopkins, another year of Treylon Burks not playing well, it's like, okay, if you get rid of Hopkins, who is Will Levis's top option, will that stunt his growth? That's the main thing that's kind of tough there. You want to give him the best way possible to succeed, but you don't want. But at the same time, I feel like you don't want to kind of baby him and give him a supreme top-notch target like DeAndre Hopkins, and that's kind of the part to me. I'm like, okay, you make him have a one-read offense dang near. You want to focus on Hopkins, but when he actually leaves another year or two later or retires or whatever, wherever happens, then you're gonna have to still rely on other people. So I see it as get rid of Hopkins now, and Callahan, the Bengals former coach, now the Titans head coach. You really get to work with Levis, give him multiple decent weapons. The Titans have about $60 million in cap space, one of the teams with the most cap space. Go get some weapons. And obviously T. Higgins is a big name on that list that could come to the Bengals. Like I said, the Titans' new head coach Callahan worked with the Bengals. He was with them on the offensive side of the ball. If T. Higgins is available, which he probably will be, you would bring him in as your number one wide receiver and see what he has there. Then Treylon Burks, if he can ever, reach his full potential, and stay healthy, next year could be a pretty nice year with him and Higgins as the 1 and 2 options there. So we'll see what happens. I'm not, like I said, well, as you can see, he's owed $10 million, but they may keep him around just for Will Levis and for his growth as a quarterback and him being comfortable. But we'll see. That is kind of a tough option because I understand both sides. I really do. But, $10 million, give you an extra $10 million, bring in more players, better help on the O-line, better help defensively. You got rid of Kevin Byard at safety. You need more corners. You need more, a little bit of everything. I think the Titans could use that money wisely. But your quarterback does make the most sense. Now, kind of on my last controversial pick, that's Alvin Kamara of the Saints. The Saints, as we all know, they're in the dead cap they're in the red by like 70 to 80 million, somewhere in that range. He's owed $13 million in 2024. But the main thing to me that really got my eye on Alvin Kamara wasn't him, but was his fellow running backs on the roster. Jamal Williams led the league in touchdowns a couple years ago with the Detroit Lions. This year he had one. And it was on my Falcons, the last game of the season. I was very upset about it. But as far as the team goes, that doesn't make sense. To have 20-plus touchdowns last year and now to have one, that's a big drop-off. Williams did get a lot of playing time early on with Kamara being out for the first part of the season. Then you have Miller, drafted from TCU last year. I like him a whole lot. And both of their contracts are guaranteed. Jamal Williams' contract is guaranteed for 2024. And I believe Kendre Miller's contract is partially guaranteed in 2024. So if those two guys there are already guaranteed to be on the roster, then you have already have salary cap issues and big contracts like Kamara's, like Taysom Hill's, like Michael Thomas, like Tyrann Mathieu. I think all those guys could be possible cut candidates in the future. And like I said earlier with Nick Chubb, the running back market sucks. You can get you a decent running back for the cheap. Why keep Kamara at $13 million when he wasn't even properly used this year when he did return back from being suspended? I really think Kamara could find somewhere else to go next year. The Vikings need an opening. A bunch of teams do. I'm not going to keep naming the whole list, but a bunch of teams need openings, and Kamara makes a lot of sense on those squads there. So I think Kamara is firmly on this list. I think he's less of a controversial pick than Nick Chubb and less than a controversial pick of DeAndre Hopkins. So he's smack dab in the middle of this list. I have Alvin Kamara, $13 million. I think that's a lot for a running back who, you did kind of well without in certain spots, and they didn't really use him to his full capabilities last year either. So, I'm fine with the Saints cutting Alvin Kamara. Next up, Terron Armstead, tackle for the Dolphins, owed $13 million. The Dolphins are definitely tight on cap space. Another Dolphin will be on this list, guaranteed, probably on part 2. But yeah, he's guaranteed to be up here. I'm not going to spoil it now, but yeah, the Dolphins are in the red by about 50 to 60 million. But the downside of Armstead is, he's already guaranteed $5 million for next season. But that's not bad. You still get off of the rest of it, but $5 million already going to be paid to him. Dang, they're guaranteed. It's already guaranteed, so it is what it is there. But Armstead, to me, he already has one foot out the door. He's been battling injuries since his Saint days. as well, since he's getting older and battling injuries since being a Dolphin for the last 2 years as well. He's already considered and mentioned maybe retiring this offseason, so he might be one of those Corey Davis guys where he's on my list, but I won't get to actually grade him on it whether I'm right or wrong because he might end up retiring. So the injuries can take a toll on you mentally and physically, and he's been injured for a while since his Saints days. What, 3, 4, 5 years ago? He's always been often injured and banged up. So he's made some good money. It definitely makes sense for him to walk away now. He's not that old, but the injuries do make you feel old. I do understand that playing ball myself. So with the guaranteed $5 million, he could pocket it and just walk away. And but there is a good chance if he does want to play, it might not be with the Dolphins. He could be cut because the best ability, is availability, and he cannot have that, and hasn't really had that for a good little while. Often banged up, often injured there. So that is Terron Armstead on this list, and I do have one more for you guys. Oh, two more. Sorry, two more for you guys. That's MVS. MVS for the Kansas City Chiefs, owed $12 million, and he had a terrible season. Point blank, period. Like, those are the two major reasons why he's on this list. But also because, and that's just being funny. But he did have a terrible season though, no doubt about it. But looking at the Chiefs' money, they have $19 million in cap space. But look at their free agent list, they have some big free agents. Ladarius Sneed, one of the best cornerbacks in today's NFL, and you have Chris Jones, who's arguably the best player behind Pat Mahomes on this Chiefs team. Some people have him above Kelsey, but regardless, him, Pat Mahomes, and Kelsey are the top three guys on this roster, most likely followed by Sneed at the fourth option. But as far as the big player goes and the best player, but you have some big offseason moves to make. Can you bring back Chris Jones? He wanted a lot of money this season. He had to miss 1 or 2 games for him to come back and sign another deal, another 1 year incentivized deal. Will he do it next year? I doubt. He probably wants something long term and some big money. So it's gonna be sucky. But the Chiefs team, in order to bring these big name players back, you gotta cut some players. But MVS to me is an easy cut, more of a layup cut to me. He hasn't played well. Made some big plays in the playoffs so far. So this video is being made prior to the Ravens game, but the Bills matchup, the Dolphins matchup, he made some pretty big catches, held onto the ball and everything through contact and all that stuff. So he has looked better in the playoffs these last 2 games than he has the full season. But you can't have that going into the future. Plus, you can find good wide receivers in the draft all the time. Look at Rashee Rice. Scott Moore hasn't panned out, but you have other options as well. And I think they will go kind of receiver heavy in this draft as well, or pick up some cheap wide receivers in the offseason. So I think MVS is as good as gone. Oh, that $12 million, even after a down season, I think he could come back. But that $12 million is a lot of money for MVS, who definitely, like I said, even if he had a good season, it's still a lot of money. So I say MVS is on this list, and probably one of the more easier options. And the last option, who I think is a layup, and that's one of my guys I like a lot, Tim Patrick from the Broncos. Hasn't played since 2021. Torn ACL 2022, then Achilles in 2023. It's like, bruh, like, he can't stay healthy. Talented, nice size on him, good hands, decent speed on him. He was good in 2020 and 2021. No doubt about it. But he just can't stay healthy. 2 back-to-back season-ending injuries before the season's even started. Like I said, in 2022 and 2023, the Broncos want more money. They want to bring more Sean Payton guys or more guys to fit his system in, and you have to cut the guy who's not even playing for you. He's owed $9.5 million, basically $10 million. And like I said, the main thing with him is the injury issues. The Broncos would love if he was healthy on that roster. They would have probably already traded Cortland Sutton or Jerry Jeudy. But you can't do that when you have, you only have really Mims to depend on. So that's the tough part there. Like I said, I like Patrick a lot. If he can prove to stay healthy, he'll be a big get for one of these teams, maybe even the Chiefs, who I just mentioned, because if he gets cut, I don't think no team will give him a multi-year, long-term deal. It's going to be a one-year proven deal, and the Chiefs or another wide receiver needy team could definitely use Patrick's services because he's a very good wide receiver. Just hasn't showed it the last 2 years via injury. So Tim Patrick, to me, makes a lot of sense. Probably the easiest name on all my lists, part 1, 2, and 3. Tim Patrick, one of the more easier, bigger names. He's not a huge name, not a world, not worldwide, but he's not an NFL. Uh, a whole NFL community might not know him, but to me, he's a pretty good name, pretty big name. That I'm not gonna do all the small players that barely even make $1 million, which I want to make as well. But I'm just saying, some guys don't need to make the list, but he's someone who's getting paid pretty well. That's I think is a pretty big name and deserves to be on a list like this, and not just a castaway name. I think he's a pretty big name. So shout out to all the guys on the list. Hope they all get their money, but I do think at least on a realistic scale, if Chubb might be restructured. MVS, I don't know, but everyone else on this list, Hopkins could possibly stay just for Will Levis and his growth and maturity as a quarterback. But everyone else, Alvin Kamara, even MVS, Tim Patrick, Terron Armstead, if they don't retire or injury happens during the offseason workouts or something, and they come back to the team and come back to their roster, I think they are through the summer or fall. I think they're going to be cut prior to the season. I definitely do believe that. It just makes the most sense. It really does. All are good players. All have shown that they can be good. But as far as Kamara goes, the market, you can't pay him $13 million when you're in the red by like $70, $80 million. It's just not feasible. It is not smart. Taysom Hill maybe got to go. Tyrann Mathieu might have to go. And the list goes on. But the Saints has worked themselves the last 5 to 6 years into this cap space hell, and now they're going to lose maybe their best player because of that, especially best player on offense. So. But we'll see how everything turns out. I could be off. I could be wrong. But this the list. At least part 1 I have. And part 2 depends on how this video goes. If it does well early, I'll push it out part 2 early. If not, it'll sit for a little while. But it will definitely be a part 2 and part 3 sometime during this NFL offseason. So that's it for the video, guys. Like, share, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.